Everyone gets well for the Utah Jazz in a blowout over the Memphis Grizzlies, and we're talking about it next on Postcast.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
David Locke along with Ron Boone as the Utah Jazz blow out the Memphis Grizzlies, winning it wire to wire. The Jazz led 42-19 at the end of one quarter as they closed the final 7 minutes in a 20-point run, actually a 23-point run, 33-10. They then proceeded to shoot lights out, making 14 of 21 threes in the first half, led 79-46, led by 25 at the end of three, and closed it out with a ho-hum 24-point win over the now 0-4 Memphis Grizzlies. And most importantly, Ron, everyone got well. Every single person on the Jazz who's been scuffling, wondering about themselves, worrying, got well.
Yeah, all the struggles you feel like have gone away. And I would imagine at practice this morning, there was a couple of guys that really found it. And so they couldn't wait to get to the ball game tonight to show that, I'm ready. But anytime that momentum starts to get into everyone, I mean, everyone's playing the same pace, everyone's taking the same type of shots, and everything starts to fall. The game plan is working. You just feel good about yourself, and you shoot a great percentage.
All right, so let's go to what you saw at shoot-around today, because Jordan, you said to me at shoot-around, I think Jordan Clarkson's going to be okay tonight. What did you see?
Well, what I saw was he was working very, very hard, and you never see him taking a lot of shots at shoot-around in the mornings. He was struggling there for a minute, and he just couldn't find it. Then all of a sudden, he goes around the horn, and you know how they shoot around the horn, shooting threes, and he just makes like 5 in a row, 6 in a row. And the great thing about when you're watching guys shoot, David, is the release, the mechanics, and all that kind of stuff. And when you're shooting no rimmers, when it doesn't hit the rim, it's just buckling the net. Something similar to the way Joe Ingles used to do when he was here. Then you start feeling good about yourself. And I felt good about that, when I left practice this morning.
Did he shoot on the rim with the data?
I couldn't tell.
So the rim closest to us is the one that when we're watching that has all of the shooting.
He did not.
Okay.
He did not.
They have a basket that has a shooting system in that marks the arc of all your shots and all of those kind of things. And so I was wondering if he was shooting on that basket to try to see if he got any data about his shot and where it felt. But that was really important. Jordan came in. He was 5 of his last 20. He had more turnovers than points in his last 2 games. And Lowry's been brilliant, but Lowry had to get some help. Like he had to get some other guys playing well. In addition to what he has been doing, Lowry's been terrific. But that's what we got tonight was other guys got help. The ball moved, the ball popped, and guys made shots, which then just continued for the kind of an avalanche of items to take place.
Yeah, you end up with 34 assists. And who took the most shots tonight? Lowry Collins took 12 shots. And you're looking at guys that like Lowry still averaged about 20 shots a ball game. 21, 22, 23 shots a ball game. He ended up only taking 11 because everything was rolling for everyone else. And then your minutes are down. Got a ball game tomorrow night. So that was a plus there for everyone because back-to-back basketball game, you don't spend a lot of time fighting to win the night before.
All right. Colin Sexton's the leading scorer tonight. Will has clearly changed the way he's using Colin Sexton. There might have been 3 times tonight where he brought the ball up the floor, but they were strange. They looked off like, oh wait, that's not supposed to be how it's happening. It's clear he's using him as a second side offensive player. This is exactly how Will used him last year in the 2 stretches where he scored for 5 game stretches. He scored about 20 points a game and really got rolling. Both times he ended up with a hamstring injury on the backside of it. What does Colin bring to the table as kind of an off guard playing when the ball swings to him and then he can attack a moving defense?
He doesn't lack any confidence at all. You could tell by the question that when he answered the question that, he's versatile. I can play any way you want me to play, that type of thing. And he gets the basketball in a pocket and shooting area and not so much of having to make a shooting area for himself. In that 2-guard position, it works a couple of different ways. You can set screens and free yourself, or you get screens set for you there as well. But the key there is to be constantly moving, and he's making that adjustment. I think that's very smart of Will to put him in that position.
Let's go back to the first quarter. The Jazz effective field goal percentage, so that's if all shots were twos, was 95%. What did they do offensively in that quarter? What did you see? Obviously, they made an inordinate amount of shots, but what did you see in that quarter?
Couldn't really tell if there was anything offensively spectacular other than the defense was giving them everything they wanted. And you could just tell, David, that the shot selections was good. Marketing takes a couple of 30-footers,
makes them,
that type of thing. So your confidence is definitely high. But the game plan was to play fast. The game plan was to come across midcourt and get into something right away. That creates the spacing, as I mentioned a little earlier. Now you can operate. Now the defense gets scrambling. When the defense is scrambling with a good shooting team, you're going to have nights like this.
Memphis goes to 0-5. They shot 36% from the floor and 26% from three. They just look like they didn't, like without Steven Adams and Brandon Clark is like the big issue.
Right.
And they're both out for the year. It just didn't look like they knew, and Marcus Smart at point guard, like where they were going, how they were getting there, Taylor's one of the best coaches in the NBA. They just looked, I think it's because their shots didn't go in, right? Yeah. It's really hard to differentiate. But like Desmond Bane's shots looked uncomfortable to me. Like that they were not in rhythm shots. They weren't playing off each other. There's really only two guys that can naturally get a shot off, and Jaren Jackson and Bane. And both of them, frankly, are better off. They're playing off somebody a tiny bit, and they both have to kind of create. Their 0-5 start might be a little bit more legitimate than I thought it was coming in. Coming into this game, you looked at their opponents, and the Washington loss was bad, but otherwise their opponents were 10-3. You're like, okay, they've lost to good teams. Our opponents coming in, by the way, I kind of felt the same way about us. Our opponents were 11-4. Like, you're just like, okay, you've lost to really, really good teams. Like, let's see what we've got one win against a really good team. The Clippers we'll see how it holds out, but they're crushing the Lakers right now.
Okay, this maybe critique Memphis right now. Where are they? Will they be when Ja comes back? It's 25 games.
Yeah, that's
quite a bit.
They got another 20 games to go without Ja Morant, and they're not, even when they get Ja Morant back, they're not getting Steven Adams and Brandon Clark back, and Derrick Rose is done.
Yeah, so it's not like they'll get better with Ja, but I'm not so sure that it's anything that you got to be afraid of.
The important one is, are they going to be bad on Friday? A week from Friday, we play our first in-season tournament game. Because really, truly, in Memphis, if we can win that in-season tournament game in Memphis, we then come back to play Portland at home, who we should be able to beat. They're not as bad as everyone thinks they are, by the way. They had a good win tonight in Detroit. But if we could, at home, we should beat Portland.
Yeah.
Then we're 2-0. Like, we're in the like, then all of a sudden you got one and done, and you got a chance against Phoenix and LA to go get one. If you go get one of those two, you might be in the 8.
Yeah. Like,
that's the fun part of this in-season tournament. We can go get the first two if Memphis is this bad, and we can go get the first two. That's really exciting for us for the in-season tournament.
Yeah, you're not just looking at the schedule. Okay, we got such and such this team next ball game, and you're looking at a tournament within a league.
Right, fun.
It's fun. Absolutely.
All right. Jordan got going. Taylor, who's been up and down, no question. Like trying to learn this point guard has been quite the roller coaster so far. He's quite good tonight and moved the ball very well early in this game. He's a large part of that 90% effective field goal percentage in the first quarter.
But my two that I had, and I had Clarkson because he was able to, come out of it. I'm sure he's smiling right now. He's happy. He's probably talking to the fellas in the locker room, and that type of thing. But Clarkson would be the one that I thought was so explosive. And then you're absolutely right about Tucker. I mean, his willingness to pass the basketball in here lately. And I know I talk about low percentage shots a lot, and he does shoot a lot of those. And he might be getting a little bit better at that.
He's got 5 turnovers. I mean, it's not perfect. And they were mostly in the third quarter when he was trying to get to other guys. Here's the thing about him. He's still super young. He has played point guard pretty much 22 games to close the season last year. That's it. Like he'll say I did in high school and college. Not really.
Different. Yeah.
And you certainly didn't with the Lakers. Like Frank Vogel had him standing in the corner playing 3-and-D with LeBron and AD because LeBron and AD run that show. So this is all brand new to him. So it's worth trying to figure out where he is and what he can figure out along the way. Keontae, who everyone's interested in every night, played 23 minutes. He was 4 of 8 tonight, had 9 points, and he subbed in earlier tonight. His first substitution route was a little earlier than we've seen before.
We just might see that it continue to increase to the point where he is getting consistent 20-plus minutes of ball game.
He picks it up a little bit more, and I think we'll be in a 9-man rotation. I think we're getting close to him getting us to a 9-man rotation if he continues to play the way he is. All right, who are your stars tonight, Ron Boone?
I just gave them to you, Clarkson.
You just Clarkson?
Yeah.
I was gonna give him both of them, maybe.
Yeah.
You have another
and
one?
Tucker?
Oh, you're going Tucker. It feels
I was asking.
Oh, I know.
Tucker.
I mean, Sexton was 8 of 10, but so much of that was late. He was good early too.
Yeah.
I
think everyone.
You know what? I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a weird one. Okay. Can I give a weird star tonight? Because it was kind of a weird night. Here's the star I want to give, if I can find it. May I do this? Kristen, where's those notes? All right. My star tonight. I don't know if I can find it. Is 3 guys came in together. Colin Sexton, Kelly Olynyk, and Keontae George with 7:21 left in the first quarter. And the Jazz were plus 20 for the remainder of that quarter. So my 3 stars are those guys that came in for the final 7:21 of the quarter and went plus 20.
Okay. So by saying that is that a lot of times when substitutions are made like that, 3 at a time.
Yep.
Do they kill the momentum?
And they built the momentum.
Okay.
Jazz closed the first quarter on a 33-10 run, and that did the job. All right. Kelly was a plus 38, points out Zach Peterson, so he probably does deserve a star. So I don't have 3. Oh, I mean, evidently Ma Law is the judicial branch of Locked On Jazz postcast. Has informed me that I don't get 3 stars. It's a 2-star system.
I love it.
Rule.
You just got scolded. That's what
I mean, jeez Louise. I mean, everyone gets a star. Everyone gets a car.
Oprah.
I'm Oprah. Have a good night.